very potent perimeter trio of Ball, Knipple, and Brandon Miller. They run a lot of kind of perimeter screen actions. How difficult is it for your perimeter defense to stay connected, going around screens, make sure they're not getting open for player screens and things of that nature?
Yeah, I think the screening actions, well, first of all, the way that their group has developed, first with LaMelo, and then as they've added those guys over time, you can really see the connectivity that they've developed and how they complement one another. So that synergy makes whatever action they're running effective. And what you're referring to with whether it be a flare screens or pin downs, frankly, the place where they're really lethal is in pick and roll. So guarding those screening actions requires an immense amount of communication when there are breakdowns. When you have players that all can shoot, you can't go under on screen, so that's the discipline that you're talking about. But I think also, when they're all able to handle in pick and roll situations and you have multiple pick and roll players, that puts an unusual amount of stress on the defense as well. We all, you've seen LaMelo do it for years. You've got Con in pick and roll, and everybody's kind of got their specific situations and certain spacing situations in playing. But there's a lot of variety there, with Bridges coming up and setting pick and roll and putting 5 in the corner. They're manipulating spacing and manipulating ball handlers. And when you do that, you create a number of variables in those plays and the situations where defenses can break down. So it's a tough cover. It's a tough cover. That's why you're asking the question.
Hey, Coach, when you coming back tonight, how much does he shift the tone of just how things run through him offensively?
I think, the way that, as you know, a lot of what Onyeka does, we're not running plays for him. We do sometimes, but oftentimes he's facilitating offense for other people. And I don't think that's something that we'll have to say, hey, let's do this again. So like a lot of the way that he plays, it's one of the things that makes him so valuable. He does kind of glue people together. So I would imagine that'll kind of happen naturally. There'll be some things that, we haven't done, certain concepts that you haven't seen as much in a while because he's the one that makes them go. So we'll definitely see that. And that's one of, the things that he really brings to our group is that connectivity and his ability to pass and handle.
Quinn, so in the last matchup, the Hornets were able to hit 24 threes, and this one was the key to lowering that number compared to the last game.
We were very good defensively that game. We had a lot of breakdowns right out of the gate. So we've just got to have a baseline that's better to begin with, and just more awareness, and more intensity, more focus. And that being part of the game plan, just embrace that even more and execute it. I think whether that be someone missing a rotation or not being in a rotation because you don't need to rotate, getting back in transition and having awareness. You've got shooters, different spots on the floor, closing out to somebody with your hand down. It goes across a lot of different areas, but it's important to shoot the ball that well. And we've got to make them. They're going to get threes at various times. It just happens. But hopefully they're as difficult as contested as possible.